Hello and welcome everybody to today's DuraCloud Vault demonstration / information session. My name is Carissa Smith and I am the product manager for a suite of DuraSpace services, of course one of them being DuraCloud Vault. Today I'll be walking through the initial steps of getting started with DuraCloud Vault for Deepen members. Just a few housekeeping notes before I get started. Obviously, you probably already noticed that your audio for today's call is disabled. Adobe doesn't do a really good job of blocking out background noises, etc. So please feel free to submit questions and comments through the chat feature, which is located in the bottom left of your screen. Just type in the box and hit the conversation bubble to send. My session is meant to be very informal, even though you can't talk with me. Please don't hesitate to insert questions or comments or points of clarification into the chat feature as I'm walking through the session today. My plan is to do about a 45-minute demonstration of the DuraCloud Vault interface and the steps to get started and uploading a sample set of content. And I'll be sure to reserve some time at the end for questions as well, for any that don't get answered as I'm going through the demonstration today. And I'll do my best to end right on time at 4 p.m. if not earlier to be respectful of everybody's schedules, 4 p.m. Eastern that is. So with that, I'll get today's session started. Bear with me a moment while I share my screen and get everything set up on my end. Okay, with any luck, you should be able to see my screen with no issue now. The first thing I wanted to show is the DuraCloud Vault website, available at DuraCloudVault.org. That will really be the first step of getting your DuraCloud Vault account set up and running, expressing interest that you're ready to go to get the account set up and move forward. It's as simple as filling out the information box here on the screen, or you're filling out the contact form. Any of the forms available on the site will shoot directly to me, and I will touch base with you to get started. We'll schedule a conversation and then move forward. I believe, as many of you know, in working with Mary Molinaro from Deepen, the first step is more contractual and legal, and that's signing the Deepen deposit agreement. So once that's in place, then the fun begins of loading your content and using DuraCloud Vault. So certainly some housekeeping items to get started, and then DuraCloud Vault will be yours for uploading your content. So getting that out of the way. So today I'll be demonstrating the actual interface, as well as a couple applications for uploading your content into DuraCloud Vault and then transitioning that into Deepen for long-term storage. So today I'm using a demonstration DuraCloud Vault account, which is located at vault.duracloud.org. Highlight the URL up here in the browser. But as a Deepen member, you will have your very own, obviously, DuraCloud Vault account, and it will be available at whatever URL you would like. So cornell.duracloud.org, nyu.duracloud.org, duke.duracloud.org. That's certainly customizable. And then you'll also have as many logins to DuraCloud Vault as you'd like to set up. So you don't have to share one administrative account. Each person at your institution who will be responsible for uploading content or interacting with your DuraCloud Vault account or viewing your Deepen content can have a login to the system. And as part of the setup process for your account, I'll walk you through how you go about setting up those accounts. But today I'll be just logging in as a test user. Bear with me here while my screen loads and I take a breath. So a few things before I start clicking on bits and bytes of data here in the interface, a few things that I wanted to touch base on. In the top left of your screen, you'll see, of course, DuraCloud branding, but probably more importantly, you'll see the Deepen logo right below the DuraCloud branding. And that gives you an indication that the content that you'll be interacting with in the interface below is ultimately being stored in Deepin. And I see a question pop in, so I want to be sure I address that. One moment. Cornell asks, do all logins from one institution see all content of that institution? Not necessarily. You can set it up that way to have administrative users who can view all content, but there's an additional level within DuraCloud logins that's called a user, and you can restrict access to particular segments of your DuraCloud Vault area spaces, and I'll delve into that in just a moment, so that certain users can only interact with certain spaces. You do have some capability of limiting which logins and which individuals have access to which content within your DuraCloud Vault interface. Great question. Yes, please don't hesitate to ask them as I'm going through today. Let's see. Another few notes about the interface, and then I'll actually start clicking on things. The interface is set up to display from left to right. So as your eyes move further right on the screen, you'll see more detailed information. And as you select things on the left side of the screen, very similar to a Mac interface, you'll get more detailed information, and it'll display on the right-hand side of your screen. Before I do that, I wanted to note just a few pieces of data that are represented to you graphically at the top level of your DuraCloud Vault account. And those are some history reports of content that's been added or deleted in this account over time. I say deleted because this is a sample account, so we are constantly adding and deleting files. And then below that, you'll also see the overall storage in the account as of February 1st. So I have about 258 files, 0.01 gigabytes of storage, and then I have a breakout on here as well of the various line types in the space, primarily images and XML files and some other interesting file types. If you click on the data button, you will get a table of the data that's being used to generate these pie charts. So, all right, now going over to the left-hand side of the screen now is the Spaces column. And Spaces is a DuraCloud term that we coined that is analogous to a content container, a content bucket. It's essentially a holder of the digital content that you'll be transferring into the DuraCloud Vault interface and then moving to Deepin for long-term storage. Amazon Web Services calls them buckets, and other cloud storage providers have various terms, so we thought we would just throw another one into the wild. So the first step when you first start adding content to your DuraCloud account is creating a space. So I have some sample materials here for the purpose of today's demo, but when you first have your DuraCloud account set up, this Spaces column will be completely empty, as you might expect. So the first step will be adding a space to upload your content into. Again, the pop-up window is pretty self-explanatory. You insert the name of your space. There's a few caveats in terms of not adding crazy dots or dash combinations in your space name that are presented to you, but it's pretty straightforward. And the interface will load. Here we go. So then you'll see the space has been added to my spaces list. And then the interface presents a bit different information now that I have the space automatically selected. So to select information here on the left-hand side of your screen, you just click in the row or click in the little checkbox to select or deselect the spaces or the snapshots, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So I've selected the space now by, again, clicking on the row or clicking directly on the checkbox. In the center panel, you'll see the list of content items that will be stored in the space or that are stored in the space. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the details for this particular space. including an audit log and a manifest that are generated by DuraCloud Vault for the content that'll be stored in this space, the ability to create a snapshot, which I'll talk about in just a moment, the permissions, and this is where limiting particular users to only view or have the ability to upload content to this space is available. And I won't demo that today, but it's something that's available right here in the interface. And then you can see the details for this space as well, which right now is empty. There's 0 items, and you can see the date it was created. As we add items, you'll see the total item count here tick up, and you can manually have the interface recount them as well. So not a lot of information right now because it's empty. But the next step I wanted to show is how you will actually start to load your content into DuraCloud Vault, the kind of the meat and the potatoes of the interface and the application. So when you first get your DuraCloud Vault account set up and you're becoming familiar with the interface, a really quick and easy way to load some sample content into the interface is through this upload button, which is available right in the center of the content items panel. Clicking on that will result in a pop-up window where you can choose the file that you'd like to upload, and it'll pop up to your local machine's directory. You can select a file to upload, or you can drag and drop, a handful of files into this dotted line. Let me I'm going to pull up my kittens folder from my desktop. Let's upload some kitten photos here. So you can drag and drop them into this interface and upload them quite easily. And again, when you're first starting to use your DuraCloud Vault account, you'd like to upload a few sample files just to get a feel for the interface. This is a really great strategy. But as you probably all this does not work when you have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands or terabytes of data. Uploading through a web browser is not the most effective way to perform those types of uploads. So the DuraCloud Vault application comes with an additional tool called the DuraCloud Synchronization Utility, or Sync tool. I will call it multiple names interchangeably, but I think for the most part I'll be calling it the Sync tool. It is a separate application which you download and install on the local machine or a local network server where your content is being stored that you'd like to move into DuraCloud Vault. And then you interact with that tool to perform the bulk upload of your material into the DuraCloud Vault interface. So today I'll be showing kind of 2 major interfaces, this DuraCloud Vault web interface and then the DuraCloud Sync tool that will enable you to upload your material into the interface. The quickest and easiest way to get to the DuraCloud Sync tool and download it and install it is clicking on this Want to Make Uploads Automatic question and hyperlink down here in the bottom of the pop-up window. It's kind of our cheat to get you directly to where you would download it. It's also readily available in the DuraCloud documentation in the DuraSpace wiki. So again, it's all open and available. You could download it right now as I'm speaking, but it is in the documentation area, and that's the quickest way to get to it is through this pop-up window link. So I won't walk you through actually downloading and installing the tool. It's really as simple as double-clicking and installing on your local machine. We do have installers for Mac, Windows, and Linux systems, and the Sync tool also has a command line version as well. So if you are more programmatically and technically savvy than I am and are more comfortable using and interacting with the tool at the command line, we also have that available in the DuraCloud Sync tool download area on our wiki as well. But for the purposes of the demo, I downloaded the Mac installer version onto my desktop. So here it is for you there. And as soon as it's installed, you simply double click and it pops up a new interface that will allow you to configure the tool to upload the content to your DuraCloud Vault account. And there's a few other configuration options which we'll step through with this tool. Something to note is that if you accidentally close this tab, you can very easily get back to it in a couple different ways. You can double click again on that tool. It's also running in the toolbar. There we go. Struggling to remember what this is called. The toolbar in the top area of a Mac, or it's in the bottom toolbar area on a Windows machine. And then just clicking on View Status will open it up in the same tab, or of course you can bookmark this as well. All right, so with that said, I'm going to walk through what we call the Sync Tool Wizard, essentially a step-by-step process to configure the tool and get it to start uploading content to the DuraCloud Vault account. So the first step in configuring the sync tool is determining what mode you would like the sync tool to run in. And this really depends on the local content that you have and your local workflows for that content. There are two modes, running continuously or single pass only, or kind of one-time only mode for the sync tool. The run continuously mode means that the sync tool will continue to run and monitor the directories of content that you have told it to monitor on an ongoing basis for any new content that may be added to that directory or directories, any changes to content, etc. And it will propagate those, transfer those new content items to your DuraCloud Vault account. So again, that's the run continuously mode. And it will run until you manually shut the tool off. The single pass only mode, which we have specifically made for Deepin members, is likely more analogous to how you'll be uploading content into Deepin. It will point the tool at the sync tool. Sorry, I should be a little more specific. It will point the sync tool at your local directory of materials, and it will upload all of that content, and then the sync tool will shut down as soon as it's uploaded all of that content. So again, it's really a difference between having the tool run continuously over those directories that you told it to watch, or uploading all the materials in those directories and then shutting down and being done with the transfer. So again, today I'm going to demonstrate just the single pass only mode, so it'll shut down as soon as we've uploaded our content. The next step, as you might imagine, is configuring your DuraCloud URL as well as your username and password, so authenticating to the DuraCloud account. You need to use the full URL for your DuraCloud account, so in this case vault.duracloud.org, and then I cannot type and talk, so pardon me while I stumble through the English language here. After authenticating and putting in your DuraCloud Vault URL, the next step is choosing the space that you'd like to upload your content into. So in this case, I set up a pets space, so we'll upload content into that space today. And then the next step is selecting the directories or individual content items that you would like to upload into DuraCloud Vault. So I specifically have, well, I should note that these folders are all on my local machine, as you might expect. So I'm navigating to my desktop right now, and I have a directory called Puppies on my desktop that has a handful of puppy photos. So I'd like to add that entire directory to my DuraCloud Vault account. And then you can continue to add as many directories or individual files as you'd like. And these can be as complex and nested directories as you have. So I could determine to back up my entire users directory or my system directory from my machine if I wanted, and it would upload every single subdirectory and subfolder and all of the content within that as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's see. I have one other folder prepared. We've already uploaded kittens, and then I have another pets folder as well with a whole bunch of other types of pets besides traditional puppies and kittens. So for today, I'm going to upload those two directories into my DuraCloud Vault account. The next and last step in this wizard or setup of your sync tool is setting some policies. And again, depending on what mode you're running the tool in, some of these may not apply. So in the one-time only, single pass only mode, you really don't have to worry about setting these policies. These are more applicable to if you're having the tool running continuously and monitoring those local directories. But for the purposes of being thorough, I will describe what they do. And I should note also, if you hover over any of these, there is a descriptive box that comes up as well. So you'll see that as I'm talking and hovering. So again, if you have the tool running in a continuous fashion, so it's continuing to monitor that puppy directory and my other pets directory on my desktop, and I happened to locally delete some of those puppy photos, for instance, how do I want the synchronization tool to interact with those local deletes? By default, the sync tool just ignores any local deletes. But we did have, in early days, a DuraCloud customer or two that wanted a true mirror of their local directory and structure in their DuraCloud account. And they wanted to keep that mirror exactly replicated as time went on. So if they deleted some content locally, they wanted the copy that they were storing in DuraCloud to also mirror those deletes. In other words, synchronize those local deletes. I usually get up on my soapbox and really strongly recommend against synchronizing deletes ever, really. But it was something that several different DuraCloud customers early on wanted as a feature, so it is available. But I think for the most part, you can just ignore the synchronized delete policy. The other local activity that may happen to the directories that the sync tool is watching is content that is being updated. So certainly the sync tool, if you have it in a run continuously mode, will upload any new content added to those directories. So if I add a few more puppy photos, for instance, the sync tool will pick those up and upload those automatically if it's running in the continuously monitoring mode. But what if I change one of those puppy photos? So I think I have a Boston Terrier puppy image in there. If I modify that file locally, how do I want the sync tool to interact with the changed file locally? And there are, again, several options. The sync tool can overwrite the original copy in DuraCloud with the newest local copy, so overwrite that existing content in DuraCloud. It can just ignore the local change and not do anything. So it'll keep the original preserved in DuraCloud and just ignore the fact that it's changed locally. Or it can, thirdly, do something that I call versioning light. It will upload that new file to DuraCloud, and it will append on the date. But it will also keep the original preserved in DuraCloud. If I do turn on this update, but do not overwrite option, what could happen is that I could have 5 different versions of my Boston Terrier puppy image in DuraCloud if I'm changing it several different times locally and saving those changes. So I could have Boston Terrier.jpg and then 5 different dates appended on the end of it if I had been changing it locally and I had this policy turned on. Again, these 2 policies are really only applicable if you have the sync tool running in a continuously monitoring mode. But by default, here within how I've set the tool for the demo and likely how you will be interacting with the tool, which is a single pass only one-time upload, you can ignore those policies. And then lastly, the first time that you start to upload content into DuraCloud Vault, so you're starting with an empty DuraCloud Vault account and you're doing your initial kind of upload into it, you can accelerate the process, which I strongly recommend. There are some additional sanity checks that the DuraCloud Sync tool will do from your local, comparing your local content to content that's stored in DuraCloud. All right, I hope I'm back. Someone confirm that they can hear me. Oh my gosh, I sincerely apologize, everybody. My screen started to chug to a halt, and all of a sudden my Adobe totally just went away, crashed. First time ever, but gotta love technology. Okay, so bear with me one moment. Again, I apologize. Let me share my screen. All right, I should be sharing. I did see a question, and I think my colleague Bill was nicely going to answer it. Does the sync tool differentiate between a changed file and a new file with the same name? What does the sync tool see as the same file with changes? And Bill noted, from the perspective of the sync tool, a new file with the same name and a changed file are the same. So if you need any further clarification, Cornell, let us know. And again, I am joined today by my colleague Bill Brannon, who is the technical lead for DuraCloud and DuraCloud Vault, as well as Sybil Schaefer from University of California, San Diego, and who is also the Chronopolis director as well. Okay, back in business. And I don't know where my audio and where Adobe froze. I was talking about changes, and then I clicked on accelerating the process, and the subsequent screen is getting started to upload our content. Hallelujah, we're 30 minutes in and we're just going to start uploading our content, and with any luck, we'll make it through uploading the content without Adobe crashing again. Okay, so at the subsequent screen, and this is the last step in the process, there are 3 buttons available to you. You can start now, meaning that the content will start to stream through the DuraCloud Sync tool up to your DuraCloud Vault interface, and all is well and good. It'll just start pushing that content. Clicking Continue will take you to the subsequent main screen of the DuraCloud Sync tool, where you can review the configuration details that we just set in the previous screen, so you can review all of the information that we just input, or you can optimize the tool. I would recommend clicking continue or starting now if you're kind of ready to start pushing your material. But for the demo, I just wanted to quickly note a few things. And I did click continue, so I'm not actively transferring anything quite yet. So again, just to clarify, this is the main screen of the sync tool or the sync tool dashboard, which you will be interacting with probably quite regularly when you first start uploading content to your DuraCloud Vault account. And then the DuraCloud Vault interface itself will be available at the whatever.duracloud.org URL that you set up. So you'll probably be going back and forth between those two interfaces once you first get started. A few things to note here in the main screen of the sync tool, or the dashboard as I call it. There will be constant information available to you as your content is being transferred into DuraCloud Vault. And you'll see in just a moment, this interface does a lot of flashing of data points at you. You'll see how many content items are streaming across the wire to DuraCloud, how many the sync tool has queued to transfer into DuraCloud Vault, if there have been any errors detected as part of that transfer. You'll see the actual files that are being transferred at that very moment to DuraCloud Vault, and then a whole list of the items that have been queued for transfer as well. So a lot of data available to you here in this interface, as well as a whole history available for download as well. History being a history of all the content transfers that have been conducted through the tool. The one other thing that I think sometimes is hidden is the configuration tab up here in the top left. So again, this is where you would come if you want to change what directories you're transferring to DuraCloud. If you, for instance, wanted to log in with another username or change what space you're uploading to, you can configure that all again here in this configuration area. You can change the policies, you can change the mode that it's running in, and then down here at the very bottom is the optimization setting, which I did want to spend just a few minutes discussing. When you first get started with transferring content to DuraCloud Vault, I really strongly recommend running the Optimize Automatically capability here in the sync tool. What happens is that the tool will automatically conduct some background tests in about 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the internet connection that's available on the machine that you're running the tool. And then it will set the correct number of parallel simultaneous uploads or threads, as they're noted, so that the sync tool will run the most effectively and transfer as much content up to your DuraCloud Vault account as the machine you're running the tool on can handle, as well as many files at a time as your local internet connection can handle. And again, that may vary depending on the compute processing power on the machine, as well as the bandwidth that has been enabled on your local machine that your computer has access to. And you could see you can manually set the number of threads as well if you have interest in doing that. But again, I would recommend running the Optimize tool and test. Again, it's all run in the background, so all you have to do is click the button, the tool will run a series of tests, and then it will set the correct number of threads automatically. So you don't have to do anything other than just click the button. All right, so with that, I'll actually start the process of uploading content. This tool will run until it has completely uploaded all of the content in those directories. So I have about maybe 10 files today, but if you were uploading a couple terabytes worth of data, this tool would continue to run and chug along until it had uploaded all of that content. If, for instance, your computer crashes like mine has, or your network tanks, or your system restarts, or or something of that nature happens, you would simply come back to this screen and click on the Start button again. The tool is smart enough to essentially pick up where it left off and continue to upload material into your DuraCloud Vault account. So you don't have to worry about manually trying to figure out what content is in there versus what you still have on your local machine that needs to be uploaded. The tool will figure that all out for you. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. Well, not really, but I'm going to hit the Start button, and the tool, you can see, will come to life and report quite a bit of data. There are about 15 files right now in the queue, and now it's down to 7 as I'm speaking. You can see the actual files changing in the queue at the bottom, as well as the recent activity and syncs that are happening at this exact moment I'm speaking. And again, this all happens very quickly because they're very, very small image files. And in just a moment, you'll see that the tool will have uploaded everything, and then it will also shut down. So where just a few moments ago it was running and in green, you can see that the sync tool has now stopped. There's no files in the queue for synchronization. It has successfully transferred everything. And if we go back to the pet space in DuraCloud and click on refresh, and we wait a few minutes, there we go. We can see that now the space not only has my kitten photos, but all of my other photos as well, my dog and other pet photos. So now I have 22 files. So that is the first step of getting your content into DuraCloud Vault. Now, the next and probably most important step is then transitioning that material into Deepin. And that should happen at a point when you have a collection of material that you are happy with, that you think comprises the suite of materials that you're ready to deposit into Deepin. Because it is a pretty significant undertaking. There will be a lot that happens in the background of the service, as you'll see in just a moment. And that entire process of transitioning the material from the DuraCloud Vault interface, and again, preparing it for and then provisioning it in Deepin storage, is what we call creating a snapshot. It's a really very simple process for a lot of activities that are happening in the background. So at this point, I have my collection of my corpus of pet materials that I'm ready to preserve and deepen for all time. So I'm going to click the Create Snapshot button over here again in the Space Detail area on the right-hand side of the screen. I can add a description to this snapshot if I'd like, and that will be preserved alongside the snapshot in Deepin as well, and I'll show you how it manifests itself in just a moment. But you can add whatever you'd like. And then as soon as you hit the Create button, a few things will happen in the interface. And I have a couple samples of that today. So a snapshot will be created, and it will contain the name of the space in the snapshot detail down here at the bottom, as well as the date. I'm actually not going to do this. I'm just going to show a couple samples of snapshots here. So let's pretend that I just hit the snapshot button and a snapshot was created. What will happen is that, again, you'll see the list of content items that are in the snapshot. So in the case of my pets, for instance, I would have 22 items here. This example shuttle space had originally 3 items. You can see over here the status. Let me highlight that for you, is waiting for Deepin, meaning that the snapshot is being prepared for Deepin storage. For those of you who are interested, what that means specifically is that the content that's in DuraCloud Vault is transitioned out of the temporary storage area in DuraCloud Vault and is moved to and transitioned to a server running at the University of California, San Diego. And from there, it is bagged to deepen specifications, and there are other processes, technical processes that are run over that content. Probably one of the most important being additional bit integrity checks for all of your content. DuraCloud maintains at all of these various stages, which I didn't touch upon today, MD5 level bit integrity checks for all of your content. And as soon as the snapshot process is underway and the content is moved to down to the University of California, San Diego, part of the preparation for deepen storage is also calculating a SHA-256 integrity check and details for all of the content as well. So when you see the status waiting for deepen, all of that background data transfer and checks and preparation is happening. A few other things to note about the details here in a snapshot that's being prepared for essentially ingestion into deepen. You can see the description that we entered in the pop-up. You can also see the date that the snapshot was, essentially the snapshot button was clicked, so the snapshot process was kicked off. And there's a few other pieces of information, total number of items, etc. There's also a collection snapshot properties file that is automatically created and then moved down with the content items as well that contains primarily this information that's here in the details area. So that's automatically generated by DuraCloud Vault and stored with the content as well. And then after a certain amount of time goes by, and that really will depend on the size of your snapshot. If your snapshot is 3 items, it might not take too long, but if your content, if your first snapshot is 3 terabytes, it may take some time for the status to move from waiting for deepen to the next and final stage of a snapshot, which is snapshot complete. So I have another example over here. I have another example set snapshot that is in that stage as well. And what that means is that the snapshot has been created, all of those processes have been deepen preparation. Whoa, hello. All of those processes have taken place on that snapshot, and it has been successfully transferred into deepen storage. The primary first ingest node, I know we've called it many things, for DuraCloud Vault is Chronopolis storage at the University of California, San Diego. So it, when you read the snapshot complete status here, that assures you that your content is in Chronopolis and then will be propagated to 2 other nodes within deepen as well. Additionally, you'll see again, the list of content items that are comprised in the snapshot. So you have an idea of 2 years down the road what content items were originally ingested in the snapshot. Again, the collection properties remains in this list. The original description that you appended to that snapshot is preserved. And you can also see if that snapshot that you created, again, was in the 3 terabyte range, for instance, but was broken down into a certain number of deepen bags, you can see the deepen bags that are associated with it, as well as in the future, likely some history about this particular snapshot. Some things that we, the development team, have talked about preserving here is when this snapshot and the bags make it to additional deepen storage nodes. There's a whole, likely a whole list of things that could be listed here in the history area. So that's something that we're looking forward to working with deepen members to really flesh out in terms of what historical data and reports do you want to have access to within this interface. Of course, you can download the metadata about this snapshot within your interface from the snapshot detail button. There we go. Struggling with my words here this afternoon. Download metadata button. And then the last thing that you'll note is that the associated space to the snapshot, my example set, is now empty. So the original items that were stored here have now been cleared out, and you can then start uploading content back into this example set space if you choose to do so, or you can add content to another space. I see a question came in, and with any luck, I'll be able to answer it and not freeze. What is in the metadata of download metadata? That is a good question. I can download that for you and open it up so you can see exactly what it is. And again, hopefully not freeze my interface. Yes, it is the original file names, as well as the MD5 and SHA-256 bit integrity values associated with all of the items. So you can see both manifests in text format for all of the items in the. This is not very pretty to look at, but all of the original content item names and their associated MD5 and SHA-256 values, and then a content properties JSON file as well. And see if it actually opens up. That includes all of the original properties for every single content item in the snapshot as well. And there's a lot of data that I didn't have a chance to cover today that the synchronization tool preserves. Let me see if I can get back here and show you an example. So the sync tool, as part of its upload process, preserves some properties about the individual files, including the local file MAC information, modified access and last accessed and created date, as well as the original file path and the DuraCloud Vault user who uploaded that data. So that's also all preserved in those content properties. And then let's see, Cornell asks if there was any chance we can add intellectual descriptive metadata as well. And Dave clarifies, thank you, Dave. I didn't see you, Dave. Dave from Deepin jumped on. Descriptive metadata and any other metadata files can be added as independent files within DuraCloud, and they will persist in the Deepin bag. And I know Mary and Dave are working with a working group around metadata standards and best practices for Deepin deposits as well. So as soon as we have more details available there, we can certainly start to potentially create features and functionality, or I can at least talk to the metadata standards that Deepin and Deepin members are coalescing around. But for right now, as Dave pointed out, yes, you can preserve them in an independent file as well. Okay, so I could certainly go on all day. As you can see, there are quite a few pieces of features and functionality that I didn't cover, but I want to be sure to address any other questions that the group has as well. So feel free to insert questions or points of clarification into the chat, and I can address those for everybody on the call. Or I can delve into more detail on something of specific interest if there's anything that someone would like to see in more detail. While we wait for questions, I will note, hopefully, this this session is being recorded and won't suffer any issues. I was able to successfully record my session from last week, and there's a DuraCloud Vault YouTube channel now, and I'll be posting these full recordings as well as little sample how-tos from time to time there as well. So if you want to relive this wonderful experience, you are more than able to do so. Julie asks if there is any limit to the description field as far as character length. That is a fantastic question, Julie. I don't actually know the answer. I'm going to punt to my colleague Bill. I don't believe there is, but he may set me straight on the description for a snapshot and a character length on that. But I will let him weigh in, and if we don't know the answer today, I will definitely get that answer for you, Julie. Any other questions? And I see Bill is typing. Thank you, Bill, from the group as well. And again, I do truly apologize for the issue with Adobe that I had today and totally losing connection. I hope that is a one-time only experience. Okay, Bill does note there is a character limit to that descriptive field, and we will get that character limit for you. Any other questions that that anybody on the call has about DuraCloud Vault or getting started? One other thing that I'll note, this is really just to essentially whet your appetite and familiarize you only minimally with the interface. Part of the process in getting started will be scheduling another deep dive individually with you and other members at your institution to talk about the specifics of your content, where it's stored, how you would get started using these tools. So we'll delve in much more deeply in terms of how you would interact with these interfaces at your institution as part of the getting started process with DuraCloud Vault. So whether it's good or bad, this likely won't be the last time you'll be interacting with me. I'm happy to do as many training sessions and information sessions as needed to get folks comfortable with using the tooling and get started at your institution. So again, not to worry, a lot of information, and there'll be certainly more opportunity to delve into this as well as everybody gets started. So I don't see any other questions coming in to the chat. Oh, I may take that back. See a couple people typing, so I don't want to end prematurely if there's. Cornell asks if there is a limit to the size of a space. The answer to that is no. Within DuraCloud Vault, there is not a limit to the space size, but deep in bags are limited to 250 gigabytes. So if you have a very large DuraCloud space, it will be broken into however many component 250 gigabyte deep in bags. So again, you may want to limit the size of a DuraCloud space to be more in line with a deepened bag, but you certainly don't have to do that either. And then Bill also noted in the background that the official limit for the description field for a snapshot is 4 GIBs. And again, I'm not familiar with that unit of measure, but that is the total size limit. I don't know what that converts to. Gibby bytes. I'm not sure what that equates to in terms of character limit for the description of a snapshot. Other questions from the audience? All right, as I mentioned, with any luck, I will have this recording posted on the DuraCloud Vault YouTube channel. And again, I'll be posting other much shorter snippets of using various aspects of DuraCloud Vault or the DuraCloud Sync tool in the coming weeks on that YouTube channel as well. If anybody thinks of any other questions or points of clarification later in the week, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I'm happy to answer any and all questions I'll insert my email here into the chat. Alternatively, you can insert requests into the DuraCloud Vault or the deepin.org websites, and someone, myself or Mary or Dave from Deepin, will get back to you. So with that, I won't take up any more of everybody's time today. Thank you all for the great questions and participating. And again, my apologies for the flaking out of Adobe halfway through. Thank you for bearing with me as I as I dealt with that, adding a little excitement into the day. Again, thank you all. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and please do be in touch about next steps when you're ready to start depositing. Happy Tuesday, everybody.